Hello. Um, Birthday bash day, whatever. If you notice, I'm wearing the same clothes in all of the videos, well, most of the videos, because I tried to get all the videos done in one day, and I'm starting my face is starting to hurt because I don't normally talk this much during a day. So after you do several in a row, you realize you've talked for hours and hours and hours, and so I have a couple more to record. Um, and this might be the last one for the day, so I'm not for sure how I'm going to order these. Um, so hopefully they are in some kind of constructive order after I've got all of these recorded. For this today, I'm reading. Like there's multiple. I wish there was multiples of me, then I could write faster. Um, Today I'm talking about releasing chaos. And if you've seen if you haven't seen the last updates, it's been submitted and it's been accepted by Less Than Three Press. Yay! So the ball is rolling on that. I'm sort of I'm relieved and sad the series is ending. Um, Relieved because it's finished. Yay! And sad because I love the characters, and it's sort of like putting them to bed. And even though I do plan to do a couple of offshoot series, many like trilogies from this, it's going to be a little while. So I have other things on my plate that I need to get finished, and so before I can come back to Samaria's Sons or the Samaria world. Um, Releasing Chaos is a bit different than the other books in the series because, as you know, the first 4 books was completely from Tristan's point of view until we get to Dragon's Eye. And in Dragon's Eye, Ushna and Brian both get a point of view, which was really necessary. And the interludes brought in other points of view. So we have Stan and Grigori and Juan. And the purpose of the interludes, some people thought they were supposed to be side romances, and they're not. The purpose of the interludes were supposed to introduce information that is integral to the plot to this last book. So there are elements that have been introduced there, and some of those elements would be used for like Grigori's story that will come later on. But there are things about Grigori, Juan, and Stan that are important for this last book, Releasing Chaos. There's not going to be another interlude because I've included all of the pertinent points of view. So in addition to Tristan, Brian, and Ushna having a point of view, there are several others, which was really hard because me and my great wisdom decided to write the book in first person, which was awesome until I realized much too late that there there needed to be more people who gave a point of view because there were things that happened outside of Tristan's sight, and which made it a little difficult to get through because of the things that had to happen. And so Releasing Chaos has a lot of first person points of views from different people, and having that many people in my head was really, really hard, and it took much longer for me to write than what I had initially anticipated, and it also turned out to be twice as long than what I thought it was going to be. 60,000 words tops, and it turned out to be 130 plus, I think somewhere around there. So yeah, it was big. Keep in mind that this has just been submitted, and so there's going to be errors in the grammar. I'm not claiming to be an English student, even though I write. But so I apologize for any errors, and so just bear with me. We're starting from the very beginning, and this would be in the prologue. And at the beginning of each of the chapters, I put down who is the point that I put the name of the person whose the point of view is from. And I just realized I haven't pre-read this, so let's see if I can get this on the first go, right? Prologue. The Nameless. We, nameless, have been running hard for many days. Something crawled under our roof, beckoning us southeast. The part of us that was once human cowered in the back of our minds, pleading with us to stay in our den, but we could not. The pull was strong, and we responded to the urgent need that seeped into our paws from the ground. Hurry, Mother Earth whispered to us. Months ago, our alpha freed us from the vileness of our human side, locking away the corruption so we could teach our humans the lessons they had either forgotten or were never taught. We shared the joys of running on four paws, of being family, of supporting each other through the hunt. We gave them our love for the land, the sky, the water, and for each other. We showed them how to work together and yet still be individuals. For we were wolf, hunter, predator, mother, father, family. Now, as they proclaimed their fear, we would teach them how to stand together, to use their instincts to discern right from wrong. The Mother Earth called us to the Alpha's aid. Though he made us nameless, he had shown us mercy and set us free. He would forever be our Alpha, and we his tribe, his people. As we eloped, closing the distance between us and the one who needed us, the Mother Earth pushed healing through our paws, fortifying our energy and curbing our hunger. Briefly, we stopped alongside a stream to drink our fill before once again we hurried on. The urgency rode us as we ran across the fields, through sleepy towns, through grassy plains, and entered foreign woods. We were close now, and we hoped we would arrive in time. As one, we threw our voices into the wind. We come to stand by your side, to be your shield, to hunt with you and take down your prey. To protect our people, we come, our Alpha, we come. Jory Swain. I didn't know what disturbed me from a sound sleep, but an itch between my shoulders forced me from my room to prowl the dark house. For a couple of days now, I'd been sensing. I pushed out the back door, barely catching the screen before it slapped noisily against the frame, waking the whole house. Before tragedy had taken Tristan away from us for half a year, he'd entrusted into my care the wolf forms of the traitors who had attempted to murder him. Members of the tribe Urus collaborated with the rogue Craig Stoiler and invaded Tristan's ranch. I would have had them killed for their treachery, but Tristan had another idea. He stripped the people of their human form, giving them their wolf dominion. The demonstration of his power as the supreme alpha and prince of our people proved his lineage to the doubting members of the Council of Five. But there was an additional reason for his action. He had given them a second chance of sorts, and ordered some 28 wolves to follow my commands as their handler. Whatever type of transformation magic Tristan performed had a lasting effect. With the events that had transpired following his return, I didn't have a chance to relay to him. I could still feel those wolves. He tied them to me that fate-filled day. Not that I was upset. What I sensed of them was harmless, a simple awareness nestled in the back of my mind, telling me their state of being and general welfare, until now. The stars shone sharp and bright overhead, the sky a virtual blanket of diamonds. The sight still made my breath catch, especially after spending so many years in California, where the light was muted. My eyes were drawn to the northwest. The string attaching me to them pulled with their sense of urgency. They were coming. Perhaps the time had come to tell Tristan about my relationship with them. Something caused the pack to leave their dens in the Canadian tundra. I wasn't sure if they were a portend of good or evil. for Tristan's sake, I hoped the banished members of Tribe Uros didn't intend to attack him a second time. I'd grown quite fond of the playfulness of their wolves in the corner of my mind, and I'd hate to be the one who sent them on to their next reincarnation. Chapter 1. Betrayal of kith and kin will threaten the balance of the blood of the innocent with the blood of the innocent. Prophecy of the blood of three. Nathan Janek. I hated this damn cell, not being able to see the sky and gauge whether the sun or moon shone overhead. Also, I despised the guards who walked by simply to gawk. They and their opinions meant absolutely nothing to me. Well, unless one of them wanted to remove the enchantment on the doorway, then I would listen to their opinion all day. Pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. I'd shamelessly be what my rescuer wanted me to be if it meant I went free. The guard called Felix slowly past the cell again. The infuriating smirk on his face taunted me. I'd love to tear the expression from him, but the clear magical barrier kept me in the cell. Standing taller, I donned my most haunting mask and stared back, quietly daring him to grow some balls and confront me. Felix dropped his gaze and moved on. Under my breath, I grunted my disdain. Coward. I resumed pacing, stuffing my hands into my jeans pockets. Earlier, a couple of passing guards spoke of my transfer to the detention center in Babel. Soon transportation would arrive, giving me a couple of days on the road to devise a way to escape. Briefly, I wondered why shadow movers weren't taking me instead, but I refused to second-guess my good fortune. The opportunity gave me time to come up with a plan. Many people who had once called me friend now sneered at me, but even here in Tristan's magically enhanced cell I held power. There were those who owed me a debt, and I wouldn't hesitate to cash them in. The question was, would they dare Tristan's wrath? Although I could handle my little brother, perhaps Tristan wasn't who they should fear. The resurrected Brian Manoa was the one who concerned me. Thinking back to my last interaction with Brian, a shiver worked up my spine. After my confrontation with Tristan, Brian had paid me a visit. His stony stare and his promises to make me pay if I ever spoke to Tristan like I did convinced me he made no idle threat. He'd keep his promise, and a smile while I screamed. Whatever happened to Brian before being resurrected changed him. He was no longer the carefree youth I remembered. If he caught even a whiff of a rumor I searched for someone to spring me, I had no doubts he would find a way to kill me. A commotion down the hallway disrupted the quiet. I didn't attempt to look. I wouldn't have been able to see anything anyways. All the same, my heart sped up, sure the voices and the noises meant my time on the ranch had come to an end. A part of me wished I could speak to Tristan and Nisi one more time, then I berated myself for the foolish thought. We'd only rehashed the same issues, keeping wounds open and sprinkling them with salt. He thought he knew me. Perhaps it was better if he didn't have faith in me. Tristan only half-assed spoke to me. He didn't ask me the important questions. But if he had, I didn't dare trust him with the answers. Perhaps the separation between us was inevitable. In the end, he probably sentenced me to death, and I wasn't about to lay down and accept what he shoved at me. Tristan was disappointed. He was no better than anyone else, making assumptions, expecting me to heal when commanded. Though I regretted the rift between us, I wasn't going to allow the turmoil to come between me and my goals. He wasn't the only one who had shit to do. Are you ready? I turned to see Juan Ybarra standing outside my cell. The black uniform made his handsome, dark looks more striking and gave him a dangerous edge. His expression was unreadable. If he despised me, I couldn't tell. In his hands, he held up to the barrier a set of chain-linked cuffs. Without answering, I presented my wrists. Juan made a motion, and a young magi who stood out of sight, came forward and deactivated the barrier. I stood still as Juan moved to snap the cuffs around my wrists. The audible click was immediately followed by a sharp pain racing up my arms. My wolf whimpered as he was magically pushed back, effectively caging him. Wearing the shackles, I wouldn't be able to change forms. Gripping my elbow, Juan escorted me outdoors to the waiting vehicle. I kept my spine straight and my gaze direct as I met the eyes of the warriors who waited outside the holding center. I refused to cower before anyone for any reason. The back of the van was open. Benches were set along the walls to the left and right. A metal rail was anchored to the floor between them. The front of the van was closed off with only a small window and a metal door, allowing the driver to peer into the back. I stepped into the rear and held my hands over the rail. Juan attached the shackles to the bar, pulling experimentally until satisfied they held. Without a word, the doors were closed, and once again I was alone. The sound of another door slammed before the engine rumbled to life. We were leaving without delay. I squashed the disappointment of not catching at least a glimpse of my siblings. What I wanted didn't matter anymore. Life was filled with wishful thinking and unfulfilled dreams. From the beginning, I had only one duty, one responsibility. The short time I'd spent on the ranch with Tristan and Nisi almost made me forget my goal. The two of them made me question myself, but my course had been set long ago, and I wouldn't detour from it for anyone or any reason. Time was indeterminable, and the road noise loud. The van jolted, bringing me out of my internal musings. How many stops would we have between here and Babel? Would I be fed and allowed to use the restroom? I thought I heard 2 doors close before we left the ranch. Would I be able to escape from 2 warriors? The cuffs would be a problem, but I was sure I could find a way to remove them after successfully escaping. I was sent careening off the seat, and under the bar my wrists were bound to. The metal cut painfully through my skin and wrenched both shoulders as the vehicle violently swerved. For one heart-stopping moment, I was sure the van would roll, but it came to a lurching stop instead. There were no windows in the metal box, preventing me from seeing what happened outside, but the shouts and the loud gunshots painted a vivid picture. The screech of metal on metal against the back doors caused me to scoot up toward the front of the cab and crouched on the floor. There was only so much I could do to protect myself, shackled to the bar as I was. The double doors burst open, and in spilled bright sunlight, causing my eyes to burn and water. For hours I'd only had the overhead dome light for illumination. A couple of males stepped into the opening, putting them temporarily in shadow. With my blinded sight, I couldn't make out their features, but I didn't need to see to know who stared back at me. His scent was all I needed to identify him. As my eyes adjusted to the bright sunlight, Daniel Sullivan's Cheshire grin came into focus. The wind ruffled his bleached blonde hair. More people moved behind him to peer at me. He propped his hip up against the tailgate. "Hello, Nathan." Daniel's smirk ratcheted up a couple of notches as he took in my outstretched arms shackled to the railing. The way he raked his eyes over me with such obvious lust made me wonder, not for the first time, if Daniel had desired Tristan all along. Tristan and I might have been cousins by blood, but we looked very much the same, which easily allowed father to claim Tristan as his own without causing questions. With an air of cocky confidence, he flashed a set of keys I guessed went to my cuffs, twirling the ring with on his finger and catching the set in his palm. "Do we still have a deal?" Duty. My whole life revolved around responsibility. I was willing to make a deal with the devil in order to gain my freedom. I finally acknowledged, if only to myself, redemption wasn't in the cards for me. Never was. Could I live with the consequence? Yes, I decided, as long as I acquired what I wanted. I gave Daniel my best cold smile. Yes, we do. And that is it for your sneak peek of Releasing Chaos. I hope you enjoyed it. My reading wasn't too bad. It didn't sound like it to me. So hopefully. Thank you for stopping by today, and don't